Hey guys, welcome to another build order tutorial. It's for all the Zergs out there, and it's for your Zerg versus Zerg. This is an amazing replay from the Alima League, not just because the Alima League's awesome, but because we actually got a ZvZ where both parties basically did nothing to each other, so we get to see what a true macro ZvZ looks like, but with all the usual pit stops that keep you safe if you do end up getting attacked, which I guarantee you will. It will not look like this. Start off with your 13 Overlord. As a Zerg player, whenever I am not saying anything specific, remember you should be probably droning. Send a drone down rather to build your 16 hatchery. $18 extractor, 17 pool. Fill up your extractor. $20 Overlord and double Queen. Get a pair of Lings. And at 100 gas, get your Zergling Speed and take 2 drones off of the gas. By now, your Overlord should see that they've either hatched first or not. Make sure to pull it back so you don't lose it to a Queen. You should also see if their drone is getting a similarly timed third base as you send your drone down to the third to grab, right now, your third hatchery. At the same time, fill up your extractor once again, 3 out of 3 drones. Start up a third Queen. You should also have your queens, both of them at the natural, just in case anything bad is on the way. Reminder not to get supply blocked here. Grab a Baneling Nest. Inject with 1 queen, and with the other, settle a creep tumor down on the front lines, and grab your evolution chamber. You can do so like Ragnarok, with a wall at the front. Get about 6 Lings. If you feel that's not enough, maybe 12. And then get back to droning unless you see something that tells you otherwise. That third Queen that pops stays in the main to inject. Your natural Queen goes back into injecting, and your now third Queen goes over to the third hatchery. Start up +1 missile, and grab 2 extractors. Grab a couple of Banelings just for safety, maybe a few more Lings as well, depending on what you see. At this point, get a Roach Warren and fill your now finished extractors. Once you have 100 gas, get a Lair. Just droning this entire time. Now grab 2 extractors. And 1 more gas, so you have all extractors taken. And also grab Overlord Speed. Start Roach Speed. Fill all those extractors you took. You should be pretty close to fully saturated on 3 bases with all extractors taken as well at this point. And you can start working with whatever you want to do. Go into Overlord drops, get a couple overseers for what they're doing. Start up just army, and continue macroing with the second evolution chamber to get up to that 2-1. Now on to the build discussion. The strengths of this build, it is the strongest macro build around. It was actually insane watching both of them do pretty much nothing to each other and do the exact same thing. It's what you're expected to get in a best case scenario. But this also provides the safety timings of the Baneling Nest, getting a couple Lings, etc., that you will need to know in normal ZvZs. I would consider this an abnormal ZvZ, where nothing actually happens, especially for Korean ZvZ too. But chances are you're going to have to eventually deal with a Ling flood, Baneling rush, Roach rush. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things you have to react to. That's the downside of being a Zerg player, is you are the least likely to just be able to get away with whatever you want to do without knowing what the other race or the other opponent can do to you. So, in this case, you get a Baneling Nest. That's probably around the same time you want to get a Baneling Nest if they actually are going to attack you. It's pretty safe timing. Maybe a little bit earlier if you know for a fact, but it generally gives you the safe timings for things. And it is a great frame to build off of. You're a vine climbing up the side of a house, and you've latched on to those things that vines latch onto. There's a word for them, I know, but I don't know what they are exactly. Someone tell me in the comments. The point is, it's something that you will actually be able to grab onto and adapt from and learn from while having all those benchmarks that you can look back at when you're like, man, this doesn't feel as fluid as the pros. What am I doing wrong? Oh, well, the pros are at 65 drones by now. There's easy peasy. A way to get some knowledge of how to improve, a goal to actually look at. The weaknesses. Very unlikely you'll be able to do this exact same build. As I said, it's something's gonna happen, for sure. Zergs need to react to everything, every race, every matchup, but ZvZ even more so is about reacting, so you gotta have those overlords in position, and you gotta be a little wary about just spamming the drones. Unfortunately, that is your macro mechanic. Like, you should be building drones as Terran players build SCVs or probes or whatever, right? Well, you might actually notice a couple of pro games where they are purposefully not building, for instance, an Overlord earlier on, because they might want that one egg to build more Lings if you're being early pulled. You know, there's tiny little things you can read into, so you do just need to, in general, study the matchup. And it doesn't show us how to deal with mutas or large Ling swells. So while you get the Baneling Nest time, okay time, you get the Roach Warren at an okay time for a macro game, and everything is about what you would want to do, despite what else you have to do. Get 20 Lings, get extra queens, like whatever. It doesn't actually show you what to do in these situations. Again, you're going to have to actually study the pros if you start having problems with Ling Baneling all-ins or muta swaps. The tips and tricks. The first 2 Lings can be sent across the map as soon as possible to check for 2 base Ling all-ins. This is probably the only way, really, to check for them, to actually see them before they show themselves to your first Overlord, which is not exactly too late, but it gets an awful lot harder to deal with it if it's just the Overlord that shows. That's why Ragnarok actually brings down the Queen. It's a good thing to do. When the Queens pop, if you send them to the natural immediately, they should be together, and they should be able to provide a wall on the main ramp. In a worst case scenario, that's kind of the start of you dealing with Ling all-ins, but the best case scenario is that your first 2 Lings see a bunch of Zerglings popping from your opponent's eggs. Create a wall with your structures at the front, just like Ragnarok did. So the Baneling Nest goes in front, the Evolution Chamber goes in front, the Roach Warren goes in front. You'll notice other pros don't always do that. It doesn't have to be done. Some pros put a Baneling Nest 1 grid space, or 2 I suppose, away from the hatchery so their queen can fit in there, right? Or their spawning pool isn't kind of off to the side like it was for Ragnarok, but rather tucked in next to the extractor so that the queen has a nice little nook, right? But if you are able to get the structures at the front, like Ragnarok did, you also notice that he used one single queen to block the ramp just in case there are any pesky run-bys, not necessarily all-ins, which can be very helpful. As soon as your lair finishes, build an Overseer to check for fast mutas. Ragnarok actually built 2 Overseers like almost immediately after his lair, after his Roach Speed, but one will do initially. It's unlikely at this timing, unless they were doing something weird like a 2-base thing, I guess, that they're going to have extremely fast tunneling claws, but you certainly want to be able to get in there and see if they're going for some pretty fast mutas, or in general a second roundabout, you know, queue up that Overseer and come back in to see if they're following up with mutas, transitioning into them, so on and so forth. It will help. It certainly will. You can also check for the drone count as well as the gas count, and if the evolution chambers are still wiggly jiggly, or if he's actually doing an all-in with you as the target. Spread overlords in attack paths to react appropriately. That's just general ZvZ. In Zerg versus Zerg, you don't have a lot of early anti-air. The queen doesn't want to go so far out. If the opponent's queen does go far out to kill your overlord, it might just be something they usually get away with because they're also building 20-30 Lings. But it also could be a sign that they are intentionally doing something very bad. They're actually going to try and hide something, right? So, yeah, it can be a problem of getting overlords on the map, but it really shouldn't be. At the very least, cover the attack paths, even if you're not necessarily covering the exact natural of your opponent, because their queens are being oddly aggressive. You should be able to also spread them out even more when Overlord Speed finishes, and then put them all on patrol, so when you have Ravagers out, they aren't easily targeted. And last, make 2 Banelings Isapi, just in case. As Ragnarok did, it is going to save your life in case they are holding up 20 Lings at that natural and not actually droning the 3rd base. If you have to buy time for Banelings when you only have 6 or even 12 or even 20 Lings of your own, but they have 30 and they have Banelings also morphed off to the side, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But if you have 2 Banelings properly controlled that aren't sacrificing themselves immediately, you can kind of play around their own army, really make each other feel very wary of pushing into each other, and buy more time to make more Banelings, so they can really be quite a big help. I hope you all learned something about ZvZ, and I certainly hope many of you get the cleanest ZvZs possible to play out this macro build. In general, I just hope it helps you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow me on this YouTube as well as check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/ZombieGrub, streaming every day of the week. Love you guys. Bye!